Well, this is someone directed by someone who you've worked with, Stephen Frears.
Yes.
This is Philomena. So it's a true story. This true story of Philomena Lee, who as a teenager in early 1950s Ireland got pregnant, then had a child taken away from her because she wasn't married, taken away by the local nuns. And 50 years later, the former BBC journalist, Martin Sixsmith, is looking for a human interest story to write about. And he hears about Philomena and hears about her story. And he meets up with her. She's now in her 60s and listens to her story and tries with her to track down her missing son. So you've got Steve Coogan in this as Martin Sixsmith. Judi Dench is Philomena Lee. As I said, directed by Stephen Frears. It's a certificate 12A. And here's a clip.
I'm getting scared. Now we're getting closer. All these years wondering whether Anthony was in trouble or in prison or goodness knows where. As long as I didn't know, I could always tell myself he was happy somewhere and that he was doing all right. But what if he died in Vietnam or came back with no legs or lived on the street?
Don't upset yourself. We don't know what we don't know. Just deal with that when we get to it.
What if he was a drug addict, Martin? Or what if he was obese?
Obese?
I watched this documentary that says a lot of Americans are huge. What if that happened to him?
What on earth makes you think he'd be obese?
Because of the size of the portions.
Actually, the humour was the thing that surprised me about it. I wasn't expecting that because it's been sold very much as Steve Coogan going serious, if you like, and of course he co-wrote the movie and produced it as well. But actually there's some lovely banter between these two people because
it's a heartbreaking film.
He's quite London media type and she's much more down to earth, and so there is this odd couple relationship that's very nice.
It's wonderful. I mean, you can run out of superlatives for Judi Dench. You know, she's such a fantastic actress, and you have to sort of see every film she's in and sort of just say, oh, she's done it again. But I think she's especially good in this. There's a scene between her and Steve Coogan when they realise that Coogan in his previous life as a journalist has met her son. And it's a really innocuous meeting. He sort of shook his hand at her door and he tells her about it. And the look in her face is just, for confirmation that this man ever existed, is just wonderful. And so I thought it was heartbreaking. And I kept reminding myself while I was watching the film that this is one story of thousands of stories.
Yeah.
And that Philomena had, you know, she has this journalist who can help her track her story. But there were so many people who didn't have that advantage and had to sort of, you know, just live with that sort of pain. I mean, it's Peter Mullen, who we'll talk, you know, who talked about before, made a film, The Magdalena Sisters, which is similar territory. And this is a wonderful film, I think. And I think Steve Coogan is also great.
I like the fact that and I don't know if Martin Sixsmith is like this in real life or whether they've just added it in the movie, but he's actually quite unlikable.
He's very unlikable.
And
he's rude.
Spiky.
He's bitter. He sees her as a bit of a meal ticket. But that changes as the film goes on. The film actually, there's a point where the film you feel it's run out of story, that it hits this wall. And what's wonderful about it is that's her story, and she gets to a point when you think, oh, they've run out of story, and then this other film starts, and that's where he sort of has his journey, really, in that second half of the film.
Yeah.
And that handover is great. And I think Stephen Frears, he's a man who came from the theatre, he's a man who came from television and then has made some of our great films. You know, he handles these two actors brilliantly well, I think.
So do you think that having worked with him, that's one of his greatest strengths, is the way that he works with actors?
He's great on script as well, I think. But yeah, he's an actor-friendly director. It's an odd thing to say because, you know, not all directors are actor-friendly, and he is. He likes actors, and that's a really important thing. And you can see that, you know, there's two actors here who, and you know, Anna Maxwell Martin as well, I thought was wonderful as the daughter, and there's some heartbreaking stuff in it. It's a great film. What do you think about Judi Dench as far as Oscar nomination is concerned?
Well, I mean, I think everyone's talking about Coogan and it being a departure for him, which it is, but I actually think it's probably even more of a departure for her. I don't think she's played a character much like this before, and certainly if you think to M or Queen Victoria or sort of more powerful characters that she's
Queen
played.
Elizabeth, yeah.
Whereas Philomena is much smaller, and much more, in inverted commas, normal. You know, so I think actually, yes, she absolutely deserves awards because she really is doing something different.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, you know, when she won the Oscar for Elizabeth in Shakespeare in Love, that was quite strange given the screen time she had. This, I think, is Oscar worthy. I think it's wonderful. Please go and see it.